So I found this statistic online, and you'll be shocked to know that up to 80% of the software project end up going over budget or running past the deadline. And they don't fail completely, but they just end up costing twice as much as planned. And in this video, I'll tell you why this happens and how you can stop it from happening in your own project. So this issue isn't actually a new issue. This has been happening over decades. The Standish group has been tracking software since 1990s. The McKinsey and Oxford has been doing it for over 5,000 large tech projects. So the Standish group said that found that only 31% of the project actually finished on time, and others either didn't went under the budget, or it took longer time, or some features were missing. And even in the McKinsey and Oxford study, they found that most projects went over budget by like 45% or more. So I'll tell you what are these traps and how we can avoid them. So the first major trap is basically scope creep. So the clients adds, tiny harmless requests. Let's say adding a single field to a form, or tweaking a report for a single column, or let's say just adding a user role with slightly different permissions. So this seems very minor and harmless, but when they keeps on adding up, let's say 30 requests by the client, it's just another whole project, and it takes a lot of time, for the developers to accommodate all these requests. So the solution isn't to ban those requests. It just need to be, brought up, that it needs to be priced out. Every time any change is proposed by the client, just tell them that this will be priced out differently. The second trap is basically unclear screen designs. When you start a software and you use the vague terms like dashboard or user portal or admin panel, there could be a gap of your understanding versus what the developer understands. There has to be, a visual design, let's say a wireframe, or basically a sketch where you can tell the developer, look, this is what it will look like. This is what there will be on the dashboard, let's say charts and the figures and whatnot. So your understanding has to match what the developer understands. And then the small things could be taken care of later. The third trap is basically the poor planning of integrations. So any modern app will not work in isolation. Either it will have payments or shipping or emails or analytics, and you will not build it, from scratch. You either have to use either Stripe or AWS emails, or let's say Google Analytics for tracking the analytics. So you don't have to figure out mid project what services you will be using. This should be done beforehand, because what happens is when you are doing this mid project and you find that this data point that you want to fetch later, or you want to save it into the database, does not exist, or does not the service that you're using does not provide that, this could be a major mishap, and you should avoid it in the first place. So what you need to do is plan it upfront. Whatever services you are using, do a small POC if the data is being provided by the integration or not. So this is the third trap. So in summary, I'll tell you how to avoid these traps. First, just before signing the contract, have visual blueprints, detailed task list, and complete map of what you are building, including the connections and integrations and whatnot. After this visual design has taken place, you know, don't just write big paragraphs. Review every screen, and if there are changes to be made, just do those changes. Take a week or 2 weeks in advance for discovery. That will allow, um, not to have any misunderstanding later. And when you're logged in with the integration, just make everything listed and documented. Also price it down before telling it to the client, so that you actually factor in during the total price of the project. um, Fourth is basically get paid by the milestone, right? So whenever you're starting out with the project, let's say it has to be done in 4 phases. Discuss the milestones. What means the first phase? When you deliver that phase, you had to be paid before starting the new phase, right? So this is how you will, avoid all these traps in the first place. And and a reliable software vendor will happily agree to all this approach. If the vendor resists, just consider this as a red flag. Okay. And this is what we also do at base station. When we do the discovery, we do all these steps first before making any promise to the client. So we do the discovery, we create the visual designs before any making any promises, map all the integrations before coding and everything, and set clear milestones so that client and ourselves both are on a clear track. And if you are also planning to build a custom software and you want somebody to make sure that it stays on time and budget, you can always reach out to us.